Her shell is just gorgeous. Uh-oh, this is a tortoise video. What are you doing here, you big galunk? Okay, we are in the Redfoot tortoise enclosure, and I love Redfoot tortoises. They're one of the most popular pets because they're pretty darn easy. These are tortoises that don't get huge. These guys do very well in captivity. You can see there's a variety of different sizes. We have about 40 of them here at the camp. And as far as ease, for me, living in Florida with our, we got nice humid weather, sunny days most of the time. Here comes Lego. We haven't seen Lego in a while. The Redfoot tortoise is probably, I don't worry about them much at all. When it gets a little cooler, no drama, they can take it. You don't want them to get freezing cold, but they will survive in cooler temperatures. As long as they can warm up and bask. Look at how pretty her eyes are. That tortoise has been with me for years. She is just a little bit of a ray of sunshine, if you would ask me. I like that ring around her eye. So Redfoot tortoises are great because these guys will graze. They'll eat hibiscus, they'll eat grasses, they'll eat leaves, they'll eat flowers, they'll eat worms. They are really cool. They're all around tortoises. They're just great. They're very curious, they're very personable. They come to me, well, come to me, my jungle friends, and that's what they do. Right now, it's early, so everyone's just waking up. They're sunbathing. They've got a huge enclosure, but you know what? One or two Redfoot tortoises can do well up north for the cooler months if they are kept in a large indoor enclosure and then given some outside time during the summer up north, and they'll do extremely well. The other cool thing about them is they're very colorful and they're very plentiful. They're easy to acquire. They don't break the bank.
Thank you to all our loyal Patreon members out there who have helped to create an amazing reptile community online with us.
This week's shout out goes to Dennis Porcelain.
They are, well, they're animals that you can get very quickly in most pet stores. But you want to make sure that you're getting them from a breeder like myself or Garden State Turtle and Tortoise or any reputable breeder. Look at this one, he's climbing all over. I love their little feet and their red heads, yellow heads rather. So they're incredible. Here's another one with those pretty eyes. What a beautiful specimen. Love watching these guys walk around. Love the interactivity. Like I said, they'll eat our Fluker diet. They're very happy to eat tortoise pellets and a variety of other food items that I did mention earlier on. Of course, we got some banana leaves and banana plants. When they fall over, these guys will eat the fruits from the bananas. So it's a really, really cool, fun tortoise to keep if you are a beginner, or I guess I'm an expert, I suppose. Experts love them too, because they are easy and they'll reproduce in captivity. They're easily acquired, as I mentioned, and it's fun to hatch out babies. Now let's move to another type of Redfoot, which is easy, but even easier because they don't get as big. And they're a short walk right past my driveway here. Let's go. Let's go check them out. I love these tortoises. They are really, really cool. And they are the cherry head tortoises. They are basically Redfoot tortoises, as you guys know. So the cherry heads don't get as big as our Redfoots, but they keep that awesome red head. So they makes it an even better option for someone who lives up north, somebody who is perhaps space constrained. They don't have a lot of space, but they want a Redfoot that doesn't get huge and looks gorgeous. They keep that red head. These guys are a little bit more expensive as babies and adults because they do have these magnificent colored faces and eyes, and their shells can be highly variable. Also, you'll have sometimes, you'll have some that have white in the shell, snow cherry heads, a lot of high white cherry heads, just really incredible. Plus, of course, you have your Darth Maul. She's right here. Hi, Darth Maul. Now, this cherry head is a Belizean. It's a bigger one. Okay, not Belizean, excuse me, Bolivian. So look at that. Look at those eyes on her. She's something else. And when she's nice and wet, her shell is just gorgeous. But those eyes kill me all the time. Look at that. We have some of her babies hatching right now. So she's a gorgeous girl, and I love her. So yes, these guys are exactly the same care as our Redfoots. Okay, most cherry heads are considered Brazilian cherry heads, with the Bolivians getting a little bit larger. But these are a good indication or a good representation of your Brazilian cherry head tortoises. They all have the exact same care as our Redfoots, but they're just not as big. And in my opinion, that makes them pretty darn easy to care for. So they're still an easy species. Oh yes sirree. Haha, I love it. These guys are cool. Let's go meet our next batch of tortoises. People, it's the radiated tortoise. Now these guys aren't necessarily hard to take care of. They don't get massive. They kind of stay on the medium-sized side, but they're more difficult to acquire. They're more expensive. They are also a little bit more prone to certain diseases, so you have to be careful of that. But they are still a pretty hey, this is a tortoise video. What are you doing here, you big galunk? My big salami's coming over to say hello. It is Slinky the salami monitor. That's him. He's a salami, Asian salami monitor. Is that what you are? I got no food for you. You ate yesterday. Now beat it. You're kind of always got to show your face when we're doing something about tortoises, don't you? Scene stealer. Anyway, here are the radiata. So these guys are great, and we have quite a big group of these. So I have 2.2 in this enclosure, and then we've got the 9 of them in the other enclosure. These guys, as I said, come from Madagascar, and they don't get huge. They're an endangered species, so there's something that have to be cared for and watched out for. They are available in the state you live in is where you have to acquire them. So you have to have a breeder that lives in your state to legally buy these, or you have to have a captive bred wildlife permit from the federal government, and so does the seller. So whenever I do sell these animals, I can only sell them in state, and I need a Florida driver's license to prove that you actually do live in the state of Florida before I can legally sell it to you guys. And I like to do things legally, don't we, Slinky? Yes, we do. Keep it legal, bud. That keeps you out of any kind of trouble. Let's walk over here and see the other female, or male. It's a male. Sunbathing right now. These guys are great. Now, even though these guys are a more rare and harder to get species, they're kind of tough. They can handle some cooler temperatures. They are really, really hardy. They don't normally get sick, but there are certain things that can affect them, like intranuclear coccidia. We actually lost one of them to that intranuclear coccidia not long ago. So very important. Now, these are what we would consider a more grassland species. The Redfoots are a little bit more, well, they're more able to eat a wider variety of plants and some carrion, which is dead animals. Whereas these guys, they're mostly a grassland species. So we're looking at leaves, we're looking at flowers, we're looking at grasses of different kinds, weeds of different kinds. So you don't want to feed these guys a high fruit diet, because their gut has a microbiome, all kinds of bacteria in it that help them ferment the cellulose in their plant diet. And look who's coming again. Slinky, come on, dude. What's going on? Anyway, Slinky's crashing this party. But I like having these guys live in here with Slinky. Keeps him company. He can't eat them. And they also do a lot of the weeding. So these guys are very happy here. As you can see, this one's just enjoying the sun and doesn't seem to be too bothered by Slinky flicking that tongue on him. Look at this. Slinky, come on, dude. Why you gotta mess with these tortoises? One thing I do have to keep a concern on is if you do have multiple species and you house tortoises with different species, what can happen is they accidentally flip them over. So I do a lot of checks on this enclosure to make sure that, what are you trying to do? What? This is the craziest lizard. Just steps on his head, but look at this. The tortoise isn't too stressed out. That's amazing. I love to see this. These guys are funny. Slinky is just looking for a little love and a lot of food. Is that what you want, Slinks? No food for you today. Anyway, radiated tortoises, awesome species. Really, really love them. They were a bucket list species of mine, and I just enjoy them so much. So very, very thankful that I have them here. And we got these from the Florida Aquarium in Tampa. They were surrendered, taken off the exhibit, and I'm honored to continue their care here at Kamp Kenan. All right, we're gonna move along to a tortoise that is kind of similar in behavior to the radiata, and it is also endangered. Let's check it out. Oh, of course they pooped in the water while I was away with the radiateds. We're now looking at these beautiful baby Burmese star tortoises, friends. That's what they are. They are cute, they are small, they are growing. These are a bucket list species for me. I've always wanted some radiated, or excuse me, some star tortoises. Pay no attention to the ladies behind me sunbathing. Let's move these guys into their nursery because the weather's good. I like to get them outside. Now, earlier I wound up talking about some animals are easy to care for in a certain location, some are harder. Now, the star tortoises in general, you have Sri Lankan stars, Indian stars, and the Burmese stars. The Sri Lankans and Indians are very difficult to keep outside here in Florida. They just don't like the humidity, which is odd. So when they come outside, they can get sick very easily. Whereas these Burmese star tortoises are very, very hardy here in Florida. They do very well, so I can put them in the outside enclosure for some natural sunlight, which makes keeping them pretty easy. But these are very, very expensive to come by. They're not an easy pet to acquire. They're also captive bred licensing needs to be invoked or used in order to purchase them legally across state lines. These were bred here in Florida and they were gifted to me. But if I were to buy them, you'd have to buy them in state, or of course you'd have to have that captive bred wildlife permit, which I don't have, but I can legally source them here and sell them in Florida. These guys are awesome, another grassland species, but they handle the humidity way better. And you can see this beauty that I got from Justin at Miami Tortoise Gardens is growing nicely, and they're variable, lots of different variation in these guys. Very, very beautiful tortoises, but a little bit more difficult because if you get a star tortoise, you got to make sure you're getting the one that you can handle. But these guys don't get so huge. They're another medium-sized tortoise, but they can get close to about 25 pounds when full grown, some very big ones. So keep that in mind. All right, we're moving along to our next species, which isn't far. It's actually quite close because I'm soaking them as well. So, shall we look at them? We shall. How about the spider tortoises from Madagascar? Love these little guys. They're just getting a soak on. They're very small. They're very tiny. They would be great indoors, which is where I keep them. I keep them indoors because here in Florida, they just don't do well outside 24/7 here. Again, I don't know if it's the humidity, if they're just very sensitive, but I keep them inside because it's easier to control their climate. Now, these are great because they're small, so they do very well indoors. You can give them a large enough enclosure. We have them in a 6-foot vision cage, which has a lot of square footage on the inside that they can roam around in. But a lot of people consider these pretty rocks. They don't do a lot of moving. They hunker down, they hang out. You miss them, they wake up, they walk around, they get some food, maybe they breed a little bit, and then they go back to bed. So there's not a lot of activity with them. So you got to be a real tortoise nerd to want these spider tortoises. Also with these guys, they're endangered. That's right. Most turtles and tortoises on Earth are endangered. In fact, as a group of animals, they're the most endangered vertebrates on Earth. And the spider tortoise, even more so within that group. These guys here are losing the fight against habitat destruction, overcollection for the pet trade, and basically just being run over by cars, and that goes in with habitat fragmentation. So these guys are definitely tortoises that need to be worked with, bred in captivity, but they don't necessarily make the best pets because they're highly specialized. In order to breed them, you have to do some tricks with the photoperiods, and then with their eggs, you have to do a lot of diapausing, so that can make them very difficult as well. Right now, they're just enjoying a little soak. They're beautiful, and I love them. They also came to me from the Florida Aquarium, and we're again raising them up. Peanut, walnut, and cashew right here. Awesome little guys. Our next species is actually one of the newer ones we've gotten here at the camp, but ones that we've had in the past. Now, these are the Burmese black mountain tortoise. We have one here and one hiding underneath that ladder over there with, of course, Petro. There's Petro, our male rhino iguana. Anyhow, this is a really cool species. These guys are also known as the forest tortoise. These guys live in Southeast Asia in what used to be Burma and is now Myanmar, as well as Bangladesh and into mountainous regions throughout Southeast Asia. They are an endangered species, but they are bred in captivity, although they do command a high dollar. These guys were gifted to me. We're going to raise them up here at the camp. They're going to be staying here forever. They are beautiful tortoises. You guys met them a few weeks ago in one of the earlier videos. Now, are they easy to care for? Are they hard? Well, it depends where you live. If you live in Florida and you got a large outdoor enclosure, then they're easy to care for, especially for me. They can take cool, rainy, no big deal. They don't like freezing, but temperatures in the 50s and even into the high 40s, these guys can handle it no problem. They are really, really cool looking. They're very personable. They will learn to come over to you for food. They hang out, but they get big. These guys can weigh 100 pounds when full grown. They grow very, very slowly, but they will eventually reach a size that is a little bit difficult to care for if you live up north or in any kind of like apartment situation. You're going to want your own place. You're going to want a backyard. And the other thing you have to consider, they can trick you because these guys are good climbers. You have to make sure that you build a tortoise-proof enclosure because they're like Ninja Turtles. They can climb really high and they get very acrobatic, believe it or not. So you're going to want to make sure that these guys are well cared for and well contained in whatever enclosure you decide. So they'll eat, similar to our Redfoots, a whole bunch of stuff, including worms and slugs and a little bit more of the animal matter, which is pretty interesting. But it makes sense where they're from. They'll also eat fungus. They'll eat fungi, mushrooms, things like that. In fact, when kept outdoors in an area with a lot of leaf litter, they'll actually scrape at the leaf, at the ground, moving the leaves to get at some of the some of the mushrooms and fungus that lives underneath there so they can eat it. The other thing they do, which other tortoises do not, is they make above ground nests like a crocodile. They actually will scrape together the leaves and they'll go ahead and put their eggs inside that. And I also mentioned that these guys will have leathery eggs as opposed to a hard-shelled egg like most tortoises. In fact, they're more like aquatic turtles in that regard, having the leathery eggs. So very, very cool species. Really enjoy them. And you can see those eyes, just really inquisitive, really cool. And I can't wait for these guys to warm up to me even more and get even bigger. So this is the black mountain tortoise. All right, people, we are actually getting to some of the more difficult animals now. This is the Sulcata tortoise, readily available. Very inexpensive as a child, as a little hatchling, but they get big. This is Hercules. Hercules is a big dude. Hercules can move through gates. He can dig holes. That's why I've got all these giant pieces of chunked concrete. The females are tough. They combat each other. There's Lumpy over there. Thankfully, these guys are doing well here. They're not beating each other up at the moment, but that's what they do. They combat, they wrestle, they do a lot. That being said, I love my Sulcata tortoises. These are an awesome species, but you better have a large piece of property in a very warm part of the world because they just don't want to be indoors. They've gone through walls. They can go through sheetrock. They can make a mess of things, and they've got giant turds. So you don't want to get caught with one of these guys indoors. I prefer keeping them outside in this big, giant habitat. I love these guys. They were actually one of the first species that I kept, but they, I had the space. I knew what I was into. I knew I wasn't just like a fly-by-night kind of guy. I was a tortoise aficionado. I was all in on reptiles. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I do, and that's why I'm keeping these guys. They're awesome, man. She's just kind of hanging out, sunbathing, getting some heat that's bouncing off the dark color of their shed. You provide them with a shed, they'll dig less. But that being said, every now and again, they will in fact dig, even if they do have a place to hide like ours do. These guys will eat a lot as well. They graze, they eat, they do a lot. So you're gonna have to have a pretty good sized food bill. These guys are grassland species. They come from the Sahel in Africa, as you guys know, or maybe some of you don't, I don't know. But anyhow, they are really, really cool species, but they need tons of care. So that's, hey, what you doing? Why are you busting her chops, man? That's what I said. Sometimes they can be jerks. So as far as personality, I'd say these are the most aggressive of the tortoises. They don't necessarily like to be cuddled and scratched and whatever, and they can be aggressive towards each other, whether they're male or female. So definitely not a tortoise for a beginner. That's my verdict. Let's go see someone else. Okay, we're walking into the giant tortoise forest. Let's go see who we got here. You guys know where I'm at. It's the Aldabra enclosure. Now, the Aldabras happen to be one of my favorite species of tortoise, probably my most favorite. I love animals that get big. I love big lizards. I love big alligators. I love giant tortoises. And that's where we are. We're in the giant tortoise forest. And there's one now. There's Afina. She's right over here enjoying this beautiful maze of palmetto that she gets to hang out in. But here's the thing. These guys ain't easy. Look at the size of those turds. Could you keep this indoors? No. Is it fair? Definitely not. You got to give these guys space. They have specific requirements. Plus, they're going to get so heavy, you need a Kubota in order to move them. That's no joke, friends. It is hard work when you have a creep of giant tortoise. These guys can get close to 600 pounds if they're males, about 400 for females. They need the space. They're grassland type species, so they browse. They eat all kinds of different leaves and veggies, which is why they're in here in this natural habitat that they can keep mowed down and keep their bellies fed. A tortoise isn't starving until its entire alimentary canal or digestive system is empty. Okay, so these guys always have to have food in at some point in that tube in their digestive system. In order to maintain their digestive system, in order to keep their gut flora, their microbiome inside them healthy and operating, it always has to be worked out. If this animal isn't constantly fed or grazing, what'll happen is they'll get an explosion of bacteria, good and bad, and that'll cause digestive issues. So it's really about keeping the environment in their gut healthy, and you can only do that by allowing them to move, walk, and eat as they do that. So very, very important. And we've got quite a few of them here now. And I'm gonna have my work cut out for me because they're huge. And what I do is, you know, basically we have the smaller enclosure during the winter, and then we open this up during the better parts of the summertime so that these guys can wander around and get all the exercise and all the browse that they need to stay healthy. Very, very good species. Now, as far as giant tortoises go, these guys are kind of bulletproof, man. They're real tough. They, not that you'd want to, but they can take cooler temps for a little bit. They got those black shells. Here's one, a little shy one. Is that Puck? That's Puck right there, everybody. Very shy. And then look at this crew. There's Timmy and Cersei and Hank, and of course, Nostradamus. And I believe that's Boba over there, and Buddy is in the house. So here they are, big tortoises in many different shapes and sizes, to be honest. These guys are great. You know I love them. Very personable. Okay, I can come over here. Well, let's see what's up with Hank. Hank's pretty good. Hi, Hanky. Hi, Hanky. They do what's called finching. They stand up and love getting scratched. And let's be honest, friends, they are the pinnacle of tortoises, the Aldabra. And of course, our final tortoise we're going to meet in just a few moments is another kind of pinnacle tortoise. They're just majestic. They're the biggest tortoises and chelonians on Earth, and they're just incredible. I made a mistake. Actually, the leatherback sea turtle is the largest chelonian on Earth. But as far as land turtles, it's a toss-up between the Aldabras and the Galapagos, which we're going to right now. Okay, so here it is, the final tortoise. Is it the most difficult? Hard to come by. Difficult to care for once they get big. They're Socrates. You're not going to just pick up one of these at the local reptile show. Lots of laws are in place to protect these animals. The captive bred wildlife permit, you've got to have it, or you got to purchase this animal in state from a breeder who bred it in the state you reside in. So Socrates has been with me since 2005. Got her from my friend Jerry Mata, who's probably watching this video right now because I always get emails saying, Kenan, you need to do this, you need to do that. Thank you, Jerry, you're the best. So anyhow, got this animal from Jerry in 2005, and not an easy animal to come by, not an easy animal to care for. You got to be careful with them. You got to look out for different diseases. You got to make sure that they have a lot of space. You can see we have the small paddock and the large paddock. And here's Phantom. Hey, Phantom. He's our latest Galap. He came in December. He's awesome, and I love him. And he and I are buddies now, and he likes to be scratched. He does finching as well. Hey, buddy. And he makes noises. Don't worry about those noises, people. He's just looking for food. Look at this. This is the true most amazing species of tortoise, huh? Is this not the creme de la creme of tortoises? The Galapagos tortoise. And he is a boy. This is a boy. And he's going to be huge, about 600 pounds in another 20 years. So I'll be an old man, and so will he. Well, actually, he'll still be a spry young lad, but we'll have him very healthy and happy. And so there you go, friends. That's what I would consider the easiest tortoises to the most difficult tortoises that I have here. Of course, you got to find out what's the best animal for you with your budget, how to care for it, where you live, your environment, your enclosure needs. And there are plenty of tortoises like the Greek species and the European tortoises that do so well in captivity, but they just don't do well outdoors here in Florida. And I love keeping my animals outside because there's nothing better than the sun on your skin. All right, everyone, I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks for watching. Go to patreon.com/Kamp Kenan for more content, behind the scenes action, and a live chat with me every single Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. See you guys later. Look at that beautiful guy.